He was on my Just Getting Started podcast. He has not one but two podcasts. He's got the Rex Chapman Show with Mr. Josh Hopkins, who's been on this program, and also a terrific new podcast as well called Charges. His guest this week is somebody who you love, Chris, I know, with your Boston college days, right? And your Boston upbringing, your New England upbringing. Chris Herron is his guest.
Great
and now
story.
he's our guest once again, Rex Chapman, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Rex?
Hey, Rich. How you doing today, buddy?
Better for talking to you, sir. Better for talking to you. Always.
Always fun.
So let's get into the playoffs right now. What's your impression of what we've seen so far? We're coming up tomorrow. Will be the end of the first week of the playoffs tonight, I guess, technically as well. What do you take? What's your takeaway so far?
Well, I've got a soft spot for the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
And an unbelievable year. Second seed, only one of two teams in the league to win 50 games and get rewarded by playing the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round as the 7th seed. So down 2-1, Chris Paul a little banged up. Hopefully the Suns will bounce back in Game 4. But yeah, I really like what Brooklyn's doing. Of course, how can you not like that right now? Milwaukee's very workmanlike. Denver, Portland is a series I'm keeping an eye on. I like Portland in that series.
Why do you like them? What do you think? I mean, I guess is Austin Rivers an anomaly the way that he finished him off last night with Jokic?
No. I think I'm really enjoying. I really am. I was with Melo for some of his career out in Denver, and I'm so thrilled to watch Carmelo. He really has taken a step back, and he doesn't have to be the guy anymore. He's playing. His effort is great defensively. His body's terrific. And then, they got Dame and CJ. I just think they're going to wear him down. I think Murray being out is just too much to overcome.
So what is the, fix for Phoenix right now? What do you think Monty Williams is thinking? He does have a banged-up Chris Paul. He's got a budding star in Ayton. However, you've got one of the greatest headed monsters the NBA has ever put out on a floor in LeBron aging like the fine wine that he is, and Anthony Davis being in the prime of his career. And, I know you watched Anthony Davis, from the very beginning of his playing career at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So what is Monty Williams thinking right now, do you think, Rex?
Well, I think he's got to hope that the next couple of days do Chris Paul some rest. His rest really benefits him. Hopefully he can continue to get treatment and get a little bit better. I think it's an uphill battle if he's not himself. And then, I remember I played 7 years in the NBA before ever making the playoffs. And we finally make it the year I went to Miami. We were 41-41, sneaked into the playoffs, and had the good fortune to play the 72-10, 72-10 Chicago Bulls, and they swept us like a JV team in 3 games. Devin Booker, I say this because it's Devin Booker's. He's his 5th year now, first chance at the playoffs, and it's different. He went out and did what he did in Game 1, and he's kind of struggled since. But the playoffs are different. It's officiated different. And when you come across two just elite guys like LeBron and AD, and you're playing those guys as young guys, DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, it's maddening because you feel like they get every damn call. So, these guys, Phoenix is up against it, but they just have to get one and take that series back to Phoenix.
Why is it done? Why is it different? Walk me through that. I mean, why?
I think that, it's like I remember guarding Reggie Miller. Guarding Reggie before he became an All-Star and after he became an All-Star. Mm-hmm. Once he became an All-Star, he got every call. Every he'd just run into you and flop, and he'd get the call. And he knew what he was doing. But officials, too, they're human, and they get influenced by crowds. It's just one of those things. I will say this. Those guys have earned the right to get a call here or there.
No, I know. And Chris Paul, I don't know if you heard his post-game comment last night. He mentioned 3 times 11 in a row. That's what he said, 11 in a row. And if in case anybody was wondering, that's the number of losses in a row he's had in a game that's been officiated by Scott Foster. And he even said the words, if you were a betting man. I mean, he went out basically and damn near connected dots to something the NBA certainly doesn't want, in the mind's eye of a fan. Was that frustration? Walk me through the mindset of a player like CP3 to say something.
I think it's frustration, of course. But there are guys that you just. I remember Scott Foster threw me out of a game. I accidentally poked him in the eye, arguing a call, and got suspended. But I'm anxious to see how the league responds to what Chris had to say. I can't imagine that will go unpunished, but we'll see. Yeah, some guys just don't like certain players. Some players don't like certain referees, and I'm sure there are referees that don't like certain players.
So you got the gate because you accidentally poked Scott Foster in the eye while arguing a call with him? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Rasheed Wallace ran over me in Portland. I don't know if you've ever heard of the block charge rule, but a clear charge.
Yes.
And a clear charge. And I stood up. He called a block. And I went right up, got in his face, and pointed and accidentally poked him right in the eye.
And that was the end of Rex Chapman for that game. See ya. You were in the showers. Get out of here.
That was it. Yeah. Went back. Had a beer. Started early.
While we're hitting the Wayback Machine, what was it like? Well, you said it was your first playoff experience, and there's Jordan, who you obviously had knew and had a history with, and you have some great stories about that. You told a story on my podcast of him rolling a bowling ball backwards to try and clear a lane, right? So, and he palmed it. So, you've been around it. What was that like to be out there on the floor against the Last Dance Bulls like that?
Well, I had played against those guys, for 6 or 7 years, and it wasn't and had some success here and there. It wasn't until I played them in that playoff series that I got to see what those guys. I wasn't on very good teams. They didn't have to be engaged to beat my teams. We weren't playing them in the playoffs. But when I saw those guys in the playoffs and saw how engaged they were, it gave me a way better appreciation for, the teams that were really doing battle with those guys, the Knicks and, those teams from back in Detroit, because Michael and Scotty and that squad were so damn good. And when they were engaged, they were damn near unbeatable.
And then the next year you're on Phoenix and you're, teammates with Jason Kidd and KJ, and you're going against, let me make sure I get this right. You're going against the Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, Sam Perkins, Gary Payton, Seattle Sonics, and you dropped 42 in the first game of that series to get the first one in that series. Rex, what was the rim as large as the ocean that night for you in Seattle?
Well, yeah, but it also helps when a team can let you run free because you've got Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson on your team. They couldn't pay too much attention to me or those guys would have crushed them. So I was a beneficiary of playing with Hall of Fame type players. And, Steve Nash was on that team also.
Oh, man.
On our team.
He had a DNP that night. I'm looking in the stat sheet.
He didn't play much that year.
What do you think his challenge is right now, Rex? What's his challenge right now with a team that's up 2-0? Everybody's pretty much putting them in Sharpie against the Bucks right now for a second round matchup that is going to be just lit. What is Nash's challenge right now? Your former teammates, Rex.
Yeah, knowing Stevie like I do, he's the ultimate competitor, and he's got a very unique team of personalities. And I think that his biggest challenge is what to let go. I think he probably wants to call a timeout every play down the court, but there are things he just has to let go with this team. And I think that Mike D'Antoni being there with him in his first year of coaching is a real positive. Of course, Mike has history with James, coaching James in Houston, but that team is good. They're really good, and if they find a way to keep defending at an elite level, they're going to be awfully tough.
Rex Chapman here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about your pod, Charges. I'm going to give you the floor on why you created it and the people you've been interviewing for it. It's fascinating to me, Rex.
Man, it's so much. Yeah, it's so much fun. Just this is a little bit different pod. It's just me interviewing, other people who've gotten in trouble. Maybe with the law, maybe just in the court of public opinion. Being people who played sports and have gotten in some kind of mess. And I'm enjoying talking to them about what it was like at that just terrible moment for them. We know what it was like from the outside looking in. I'm enjoying finding out what it was like for them. I've interviewed Meta, Sanford Artest, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, that guy, Ryan Leaf, Chris Herron, just did Jim Leyritz recently, Bonzi Wells. I got Doc Gooden coming up, so many more. I'm really excited. The best part about it is, for me, it's kind of cathartic, because you sit there and all of us in sports have been asked the same old sports questions over and over.
Right.
But I've been really, really heartened by the willingness of these people coming on to open up and really just lay it all out there. And I'm enjoying it, and I think so far the listeners are enjoying it.
Well, I'm certainly the Dwight Gooden conversation. I can't wait to hear that, Rex. I mean,
right.
I mean, for sure.
I'm a fan.
Well, I mean, it's not just that too, but I mean, what truly also could have been, and how great he was despite, his struggles is it's remarkable. I mean, it really is. Certainly in the city of New York, where
Agreed.
For both teams. What'd you learn from Chris Herron? What'd you get from him?
I think I have so many friends who are friends with Chris. He and I don't really know one another. But within just minutes of sitting down, because, he's friends with Jason Kidd and Steve Nash, who I've known for 30 years now, it was almost like, we just picked right up. It was very comfortable. The thing that I didn't know, I really didn't, and I didn't watch his 30 for 30. My son told me to a while back, but I figured it was going to be sad, and I don't do well with sad. So I did watch it before he and I talked, and I just bawled. I bawled my eyes out. The thing that I didn't know Chris he really took a turn for the worse when he went to OxyContin. That's, essentially what happened to me. And I had no idea that's what, sort of triggered his foray into heroin. So I really learned something on that just from a standpoint, and I should know these things. I should have known that. But, I just, and hearing the guys, hearing the people, I've cried a couple times on here. I've almost cried several times, and I've had a couple of guests tear up. This stuff's hard to talk about, but again, I think it's cathartic, and I think it can help people out there. We're all struggling. Somebody knows someone who's struggling.
No question about it, and that's the Charges with Rex Chapman podcast. And then, of course, May has been Mental Health Awareness Month. We're coming towards the end of May, and a fascinating conversation. I don't know if you're paying much attention to it, but you are definitely active on Twitter, so I'm sure it has crossed your Twitter timeline about Naomi Osaka at the French Open, saying that she will not have any press conference appearances with the media while at the French Open, citing her mental health, saying that having conversations with people who doubt her and ask her questions over and over again is not helpful, and that some journalists kicking a person while they're down is something that she will not take part in. I wonder what you think of all that, Rex.
Good for her. I mean, look, I know it's dicey. She's playing tennis. People want to ask questions. The media and athletes, entertainers, we do work together. We do. So I get that it's difficult for some people, but this is a young lady who's, coming up in I can't imagine, Rich. I was talking to someone yesterday. I can't imagine being a professional athlete or even a college athlete in today's world with social media. I can't. I don't know how these athletes do it. So good for her. Maybe this won't be a forever type thing, but I'm happy for her. I wish that more people could be understanding of what young people are going through, and she's trying to do something extremely daunting, and it takes more than just the physical. So good for her.
So what do you mean that social media? Because you're seeing what people are saying in real time.
So.
Because Twitter does allow the popcorn throwers the ability to somebody may be screaming something horrible. Like John Morant's parents, apparently father definitely was talking about that, and Morant may not hear it because those fans are so far away, but on the phone you can see it, you can get it, if you're thumbing through it. Is that what you're referring to, pretty much, Rex, or what?
I am. Yes, I think it's hard. Look, everybody wants to be loved, and everybody wants to see nice things written about them. When I was growing up, you didn't have any of that. What was written in the paper, that's all that was said. What you said in interviews, that's all that was said. There's so much commentary out there now. Some of it's great, and some of it's, spot on. Some of it's great reporting. Most of it is garbage. And trying to filter that out as a young athlete and, focus on, this is something I should pay attention to. This is something I shouldn't pay attention to. I can't imagine trying to negotiate that while, trying to be the best at what you're doing.
Rex, you're the best, man. Look for my call as we get our way into the second round of the playoffs, and certainly, your teammate, as you referred to as Stevie Nash. I mean, he is in launch position, to say the least, and the Bucks look like that's going to be the team that might come in off of a sweep. The Sixers versus Knicks and Hawks winner. That looks like a lot of fun, and it sure looks like LeBron and AD are going to be the nightmare 7 seed that nobody ever wants to see again. It sure looks like it,
It looks that way, but hey, let's talk again here in the next week or two and catch up, do some more NBA playoffs.
Let's do it. Thanks for the call, Rex. Everybody can go get your podcast where all podcasts are required with Mr. Josh Hopkins, the Rex Chapman Show, and Charges with Rex Chapman. You're the best, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Rich. Much love, buddy.
Right back at you. That's Rex Chapman. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.